Good evening, I'm Sav Chonza, and welcome to our special holiday edition of APTN National News Weekend. We start with an incredible story from northern BC. A 140-year-old Chilkat blanket is returning back to the Tlingit community where it once came from. While the local First Nation is rejoicing over the amazing find, it's also questioning why it has to foot the bill for a cultural item that rightfully belongs to its people. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
After more than a century of separation, this Chilkat robe is finally coming home. Earlier this month, Tlingit elder and master carver Wayne Carlick unboxed the robe in Vancouver. It was a moment he'll never forget.
To actually have a blanket or a robe of a masterpiece that absolutely is incredible.
Carlick is a member of the Taku River Tlingit First Nation in Atlin, BC. Last month, he became aware of the sale of a Chilkat robe at a prestigious Canadian auction house. Not much was known about the item other than it was collected from a Tlingit community on the Taku River in the 1880s. But its rare double wolf design immediately caught Carlick's attention.
Right away, I thought maybe this is a Taku blanket.
The robe displays a signature that matches with Mary Hunt of the Drifted Ashore clan. Made out of hand-woven goat hair spun with cedar, the robe was likely worn during dancing and ceremonies. With help from the First Nation, a GoFundMe, and a generous donation from a local Atlanite, the robe was purchased at a final price of just over $46,000. But Carlick says his people shouldn't have to pay for art that rightfully belongs to them.
It hurts me to hear that we still have to do that today. How this art was taken from us, under what circumstances, and how come there's no documents about it? Because people either stole it or they took it at really cheap prices because our people were in such poverty.
Our weaving was incredible back then, and I think they treasured it too, as even though it was a stolen item.
Joanne Williams is a Taku River Tlingit elder and regalia maker. She says her grandmother told her several items were burned or taken from the community in the late 19th century when white settlers were enforcing a ban on potlatches.
I'm hoping actually that one day we will not have to pay a dime for our stolen property to be brought back to our land.
It's a raven. And so the raven head is here.
Carlick is hopeful the robe's return will send a message to Canada that Indigenous artifacts need to be returned to their communities.
I hope this helps Canada realize what's happening here and how these precious artifacts from our history comes home. They should be here.
The robe is currently housed in a Vancouver museum where it will undergo restoration work. Next year, a Tlingit celebration will be held to welcome the artifact back into the community. Carlick is thankful that such a priceless item is returning to its rightful place.
Finally, eventually, it comes back.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Atlin.
As we prepare for a new year, APTN's Annette Francis takes us back through 2022. It was a year of reconciliation. Land back, language back, unusual mishaps, and acts of kindness. Here's that recap.
A public school located in Pickering, Ontario, once known as Sir John A. Macdonald, now bears the Ojibwe name, Bidasige. It's the traditional name of Anishinaabe grandmother and well-known water walker, Josephine Mandamin, who passed away in 2019. Principal Paul Haynes says Bidasige is an important change.
I think we're at an interesting point in Canadian history where we would all do well to learn more and know more about Indigenous history, Indigenous people, language and culture, and how we have gotten to where we are as a country right now.
And the land back deal means sweetness every spring for a group of harvesters with the White Owl Native Ancestry Association in Kitchener, Ontario. It all began in 2017 with the Emmanuel United Church in Waterloo.
We manufactured a bill of sale for $1 for the material. The lawyers approved it, and we transferred the property to White Owl.
Dave Skeen says it's a significant deal.
Most of the time we use the land for the sugar bush in the spring, and so we're out here for maybe 2.5 months all total. And then the other part is like we're learning.
In an effort to keep the language alive, Ozwamik Gittiganing opened its doors to anyone across Turtle Island that is interested in the Anishinaabe-Moan immersion. The Ozwamiks are a family of Anishinaabe language keepers from Wikwemikong First Nation. It's a dream of Beverly Nakagijik. She made it a reality after inheriting the property and money from her uncle.
I used that money to start, and then the powwow and catering, big caterings I did. I saved my money, and then I pay all my stuff there, my workers. And then I had the big, another big catering coming up, and then that's where I just save all my money, eh?
Why is that so important to you?
Because that's the way I felt, and then I feel like Anishinaabe-Moan, it's only like to be taught, maybe over here, and just to talk the native language.
And in a bizarre story, we told you about a family who thought they knew where their father was buried 26 years ago. So it was quite a shock when they heard his casket was found somewhere completely different last summer.
I just keep visualizing it, you know, and it haunts me. I know that he's at rest regardless.
According to the Akwesasne police, the investigation is ongoing, but it looks like the casket had been moved by accident quite some time ago. So for now, Marianne Jackson tries to hold on to better memories of her dad.
He was a basket maker. He pounded logs, and he came back here probably about 10, 15 years before he passed away. He was in Syracuse. And when he came back, he brought pound making back. He taught a lot of men to pound and make splints and make baskets and stuff like that.
In the heat of summer, we met two 11-year-old entrepreneurs running the Little Punks lemonade stand at Curve Lake First Nation in Ontario. They perfected the recipe and made a profit, not just for themselves, but are sharing it with the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto.
It would help them out a lot, and it would be like, they would be thankful for it.
They even gained some notoriety with a shout-out on Live with Kelly and Ryan from New York City.
A lot of people sending in their lemonade stands. Lauren Benson from Curve Lake, Ontario.
It was a busy year. Miigwech for sharing your stories with us, and we look forward to bringing you more in the new year. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Wow, it really was a busy year. Now we're going to take a short break, but stick around. We've got a great holiday show waiting for you when we return.
Watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's not here now. Santa Claus is coming to town. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Welcome back to our holiday edition of APTN National News Weekend. 2022 has been a year of many challenges and triumphs in the Northwest Territories. Our reporter, Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, reflects on some of those stories.
We start off in Acacho Territory at the height of a COVID-19 wave. This wellness camp outside of Yellowknife became a safe haven for homeless with a managed alcohol program.
Now you see that it stretch it's not every 3 hours. It's maybe 6 hours, you know, and some 7 hours. And a few of them, my friends, that today, they don't drink.
Survivors and intergenerational survivors prepared for an Indigenous delegation to visit Pope Francis in Rome. Taylor Bain Takosa represented youth with the Assembly of First Nations seeking a papal apology.
I think for myself, it's like, you know, I can't speak my language, and that's one thing I really wish I could. You know, I am fortunate to have the teachings passed down from my grandparents, but there's a lot that wasn't shared with me just because, you know, my grandparents were terrified that, you know, what if, like, the church was going to come back, or the RCMP was going to come back to get us. So.
But some survivors like Kathy Dickey didn't think the visit to Rome was a be-all, end-all.
What could he possibly say to repair all the damage he's done to generations of our families and our communities?
So this is my bedroom window I'm talking about. This is what it looks like from the outside.
A common theme north of 60, housing struggles, long-standing repairs, and inadequate social conditions. Like Verna Bolio, who rents from property giants Northview, a company who owns nearly half of the rental market in Yellowknife.
I have to use my oven for heat. I put on my oven at night. Often I leave it on 4 to 6 to 8 hours, depending how cold it is.
Nearby in the Quinchon community of Edzo, residents like Kelsey Mantla spent months dealing with water disruptions and raw sewage backup from failing equipment.
Like every time I tried to like scoop water out of there and it ends up like keep going, and I was like crying, like literally crying for help to have a safe place for me and my kids.
Homes were also impacted from unprecedented ice jams and high water flooding along the Hay River. James McPherson in West Point First Nation was one of the 4,000 who had to evacuate.
The water came in from this way and it smashed into my skirting there and it filled everything and all my insulation was completely soaked.
In Justice, a new alternative community policing program launched in Fort Liard.
Connect with people on a personal level. They're not throwing someone in from somewhere else that no one knows. And I think that's a good part of building relationships is there's already a relationship there.
And this Cree mother told her truth at an inquest into the death of her daughter, Delilah Blair, in a Windsor jail. The inquest made 38 recommendations, including no longer considering access to phone calls to be a privilege.
I know that she was trying to reach me, and through transcripts that she was trying to reach home. She wanted to talk to me. She wanted to tell me something.
And as discussed this year, in 2023, communities will begin work to search the sites of 15 former residential schools for any unmarked graves using ground-penetrating radar.
Is it possible that I have cousins somewhere in the world? Or is that it? I don't know if those questions will ever be answered, but I sure hope that we can get a sense of that so that I will have closure.
Charlotte Moore Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
With the holidays just around the corner, craft sales are key in helping to support Indigenous artists. APTN's Tamara Pimentel caught up with the organizer of one sale that helps support Indigenous women behind bars.
It's an art sale organized by women to help women. Everything sold here is beaded by an Indigenous woman who is either incarcerated or recently released.
There was something that I enjoyed doing and I was really good at, so it made my time go by better, I guess, easier and faster.
For Jennifer Clark, beading helped pass the time while in the Women's Correctional Center in Headingley, Manitoba.
It connects you to your roots. It really helps you find yourself and who you are, being Indigenous.
I've learned a ton from these ladies. I've gained friends, lifelong friends.
Sandra Burling co-founded the Women Helping Women beadwork group online, where people from all over the world can buy. It started when Burling received a gift in the mail from jailed artist Trilai Anderson. Their kids were dating.
And she was just incarcerated at the time and sending me gifts, and her beadwork was really incredible. And I talked to her and asked her through her son if she wanted to sell her beadwork. and she thought that would be a really great idea. So she shared this platform with the other ladies who were in Headingley in the Women's Correctional Centre.
From there, the group grew. Burling is now helping dozens sell their work while behind bars.
It just evolved, and now getting to know these women and their circumstances, and the fact that they are coming out of jail without anything, and not having housing, not having support, not having medication, it to me is just really a desperate situation.
100% of the sales go directly back to the artist.
So the money from the sale of the beadwork is really helpful for them in the sense that they can, a lot of people send money to their family. It helps buy canteen items, which all the beadwork, all the beads and the needles and the thread, it's all canteen items. And so they continue to replenish what they've sold, so the money is extremely helpful for them, as well as saving for when they get out.
Clark says it brings opportunity for a better life after incarceration.
I feel like I finally found something that I want to do with myself, with my life, and I think beading is that, because I actually enjoy doing it, and I did a lot of it while I was in there. I would bead all day, every day, and well, not all day, every day, but most of the time, and yeah, I'm really good at it. I enjoy it, so found something that I like to do.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
You can buy their beautiful beadwork online, search Women Helping Women _beadwork on Instagram, and send a direct message to their page. Okay, now we're going to step aside one last time, but first, here's a holiday message from a trailblazer, the first Indigenous woman to be crowned Miss World Canada, Emma Morrison.
Wache, hello, my name is Emma Morrison. I am your Miss World Canada 2022, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday. And remember to spend and be grateful for that time that you have with your family and friends this holiday season. Bye. I don't know.
Welcome back. For many Inuit living in Yellowknife, visiting family back home isn't always in the cards, especially around the holiday season. That's why one local organization has been bringing them Christmas cheer. Our reporter, Charlotte Morit-Jacobs, has this story.
In Kugaruk, Merry Christmas. Kalograk, Merry Christmas. Cambridge Bay, Kogluktuk.
'Twas a week before Christmas when all through Yellowknife, Inuit Tugutagatakik hold a gathering that's larger than life. The babies are nestled snug in the Amounties, while folks feast on potluck goods and Christmas candies.
I would like to say a Merry Christmas to my two boys in Joe Haven. I'm here in Yellowknife to wait for my granddaughter to be born. And to my other half in Goose Lake, Merry Christmas from me and Precious.
The games are aplenty and people bustle about after 2 long years when a pandemic put the event on timeout.
It's going really good. It's so fun. It's nice to be all together again after the pandemic.
Charlie and his daughter Jamie Kudlak spend months organizing, tiring work, but the smiles make it so energizing.
They don't get to see it very much because of the location they're in and how hard it is to get out back to their home. And the reward is just seeing people having a good time, enjoying themselves, and it's like they're feeling like they're at home for one night.
Since 2018, the nonprofit's been growing with dreams of expanding and projects ongoing.
The food security and getting country food from the northern communities, from the hunters up there, to provide us with some country food, and we divvy it up and distribute it to the local population here.
While the high cost of airfare makes it hard to go home, it's a nice alternative, so there's no reason to roam.
All our friends that we haven't seen for years. We've been here 20 years and it's been a long time, but we think about people from back home all the time, so they're in my heart.
Well wishes are given as the night comes to close with gratitude in their hearts for this Yellowknife Inuit family they've chose.
It's really nice to see, and I like all the food too. I'm taking some home, and please draw my ticket.
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
And that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a beautiful holiday season. Happy holidays from your APTN National News crew.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne, she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew